Seaman Recruit, the entry rank, and the only one where the title itself depends on which part of the Navy the sailor is joining. Someone entering the engineering community is a fireman recruit. Aviation produces an airman recruit, the construction battalion's a construction man recruit, and the medical field a hospital man recruit. Identical standing, identical pay, 4 different names. The Navy sorts people by community before it sorts them by anything else. Seaman Apprentice. Promotion arrives after a set period of service and requires only that nothing has gone wrong. The rank carries no authority over anyone. It marks that a sailor has finished initial training and joined a crew, moving from someone being instructed to someone the ship depends on for a specific watch. Seaman. The last rank reached mainly through time rather than examination. A seaman stands watches without supervision and is expected to know their part of the ship without being walked through it. This is also the last rank, whose title says nothing about what the sailor actually does for a living. Everything above it does. Petty Officer Third Class. The first rank with authority over other sailors and the point where the job becomes part of the name. From here, a sailor is not simply a petty officer. They are a boatswain's mate third class, or a machinist's mate third class, or one of dozens of other specialties. The grade and the trade are fused into a single title, and a sailor carries that trade for the rest of their career. Petty Officer Second Class, a supervisor within a division, responsible for a work center and for the sailors in it. Advancement is by competitive examination combined with performance evaluations, with the number of promotions in each specialty capped by how many billets the Navy needs filled that year. A sailor can pass the exam and still not advance, because the limit is set by the Navy's requirements rather than by the individual's score. Petty Officer First Class, the senior working supervisor, typically with 10 to 15 years of service, running a division's day-to-day operations under an officer or a chief. This is the last rank where a sailor is still primarily doing the technical job rather than managing the people doing it. Advancement past it is the sharpest bottleneck in the enlisted structure. Chief Petty Officer, the largest single change in status anywhere in the American military. On advancement, a chief moves out of the enlisted berthing into the chief's quarters, eats in the chief's mess, and changes into khakis. The transition is marked by a formal induction process lasting weeks. The rank was established in 1893, and the arrangement is deliberate. Officers command the Navy, the chiefs run it, and the structure was built so that a new officer has no realistic alternative to listening to one. Senior Chief Petty Officer, created in 1958 when the Navy concluded that one grade could no longer cover the full range of senior enlisted responsibility. A senior chief oversees several divisions or an entire department's enlisted personnel and serves as the technical authority in their specialty for the whole command. Roughly 1 in 10 chiefs will advance to it. Master Chief Petty Officer, the top of the enlisted structure, reached by a very small fraction of those who enlist. A Master Chief advises commanding officers on enlisted matters, sets standards across a command, and is frequently the person with the longest continuous experience aboard any given ship, including the officers commanding it. Command Master Chief, the senior enlisted advisor to the commanding officer of a ship, squadron, or shore installation. They hold no command authority of their own. Their entire function is to give the commanding officer an accurate picture of the crew that the officer chain cannot supply, which means the relationship works only to the extent that the commander actually wants to hear it. Fleet and Force Master Chief, the same advisory role scaled to an entire fleet or an entire functional community. A Fleet Master Chief advises a numbered fleet commander or a major regional command covering tens of thousands of sailors. There are only a handful of these positions in the Navy at any time. Master Chief Petty Officer of the Navy, a single position held by one sailor at a time, created in 1967. They advise the Chief of Naval Operations and the Secretary of the Navy directly, and they speak for every enlisted sailor in the service on pay, advancement, training, and quality of life. Fewer than 20 people have held it. Warrant Officer One. The Navy eliminated this rank in 1975 and operated without it for over 4 decades. It was brought back in 2018, specifically for cyber warfare specialists, because the Navy concluded it needed a way to retain deep technical expertise without forcing those people into a career track that would eventually pull them away from the work. Chief Warrant Officer 2. The first commissioned warrant grade, and the point at which the Navy's system diverges sharply from the Army's. Navy warrant officers come exclusively from the senior enlisted ranks. An applicant must already be a chief or above. There is no path into it from outside the Navy, and no path into it from the junior enlisted ranks, which means every Navy warrant officer began as a Seaman Recruit. Chief Warrant Officer 3. A senior technical specialist, typically with 16 to 22 years of service, serving as the recognized authority on a system or a discipline for an entire command. Officers consult them directly. The rank exists because certain forms of expertise take 2 decades to build and would be destroyed by rotating the person through the assignments a normal officer career requires. Chief Warrant Officer 4. A master of their field advising at the level of a ship's department or a squadron. At this point, a warrant officer has usually served longer than the commanding officer of the ship and remains formally junior to every ensign aboard it. In practice, the ensigns are instructed early to take their advice. Chief Warrant Officer 5, the top of the warrant track with typically more than 25 years inside a single specialty. They advise at the level of a type command or a fleet and shape how their entire community trains and operates. There are only a small number in the Navy at any given time. Midshipman. The rank held at the Naval Academy and in officer training programs. It is not a modern invention. Midshipmen were once genuine shipboard officers in training, boys sent to sea at 12 or 13 to learn navigation and seamanship by doing it, quartered amidships, which is where the name comes from. The rank survived the transition to a shore-based academy and kept its name. Ensign. The first commissioned rank. The name comes from the flag, because the most junior officer aboard a warship was historically responsible for the ship's colors. An ensign typically serves as a division officer, leading 20 to 30 sailors, most of whom have been at sea considerably longer. The division's chief petty officer is the person who determines whether the ensign learns the job or fails at it. Lieutenant junior grade. Promotion arrives after about 2 years and is close to automatic. The rank carries broader responsibility with less supervision, and for officers on the aviation track, this is often the point at which they complete flight training and reach a squadron. It is the shortest stage in most naval officer careers. Lieutenant. The most commonly confused rank in the American military. A Navy lieutenant holds the same grade as an Army captain, 3 grades below a Navy captain. The word comes from the French for one who holds the place of another, because the lieutenant historically stood in for the captain. A lieutenant may serve as a department head on a smaller ship, as a section leader in a squadron, or in command of a small vessel. Lieutenant commander, a department head aboard a ship responsible for engineering, operations, weapons, or supply, and for every sailor working in that department. The rank was created in 1862 when the Navy determined it needed a grade between the officer running a division and the officer commanding a ship. It is the first rank at which an officer manages a substantial organization rather than a working team. Commander. The first rank with command of a ship. A commander may have a destroyer, a submarine, or an aviation squadron. Selection for command is competitive, and many officers reach the rank without being chosen for it. Whoever commands a vessel is addressed as captain while aboard it regardless of their actual rank, which is a courtesy of the sea rather than a statement of grade. Captain. 3 grades above an Army captain, and the source of nearly every rank misunderstanding between the services. A Navy captain commands a cruiser, an aircraft carrier, a submarine squadron, or a major shore installation. It is the highest rank reachable through normal promotion boards. Everything above it requires presidential nomination and Senate confirmation. Commodore. A rank the Navy has abolished and revived repeatedly. It sat between captain and rear admiral for most of the 19th century, was discontinued after the Second World War, brought back in 1982 under a new name, renamed again in 1983, and abolished once more in 1985. It survives today as a title rather than a rank. used for officers commanding a squadron of ships or a group of aviation units. Rear Admiral, lower half. The first flag rank. The name is a survival from the age of sail, when a fleet formed into 3 divisions, and the most junior admiral commanded the rearmost one. That officer was the Rear Admiral, and the term outlived the formation it described by 200 years. Promotion to it requires presidential nomination and Senate confirmation. Rear Admiral, upper half. The second flag grade, commanding a carrier strike group, an expeditionary strike group, or a major command ashore. A carrier strike group commander directs the carrier, its air wing, and the escorting warships as a single formation, and holds operational authority over roughly 7,000 people distributed across multiple ships. Vice Admiral commands a numbered fleet or a major systems command. The name descends from the same age of sail formation. The Vice Admiral commanded the leading division of the fleet, ahead of the Admiral in the center and the Rear Admiral behind. Officers at this level operate where naval planning meets national policy. Admiral, the highest rank in ordinary use, held by the Chief of Naval Operations, by fleet commanders, and by Navy officers serving as combatant commanders. The number of 4-star positions is fixed by law, so promotion requires a specific position to become vacant. The word itself is not European in origin. It descends from Arabic, from a phrase meaning commander of the sea. Fleet Admiral, created in December 1944 because American commanders were negotiating with British counterparts who held higher formal rank. 4 officers have ever held it: Leahy, King, Nimitz, and Halsey. Nimitz was the last of them to die in 1966. The rank has never been abolished. It has simply not been awarded since, and the Navy has fought every war since without it. Admiral of the Navy, the highest naval rank the United States has ever created, held by exactly one person. George Dewey received it in 1903 in recognition of his victory at Manila Bay, with the appointment backdated to 1899. It placed him above every other officer in the Navy, and it was never conferred on anyone else. When Dewey died in 1917, the rank died with him. Thanks for watching. What rank did you make? Drop it in the comments. Also, please remember to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video.